Hello, everyone. My name is Teresa Conroy-Roth, and you are watching the latest episode of Lightning Leadership. With me today is Karen Atwell, CEO of Dynamic Perspectives. Karen's been CEO since 2009. We recently met through a mutual connection, Julie Sterling-Hoberty, and found out that we had a number of things in common, and I just think she's great people. So, Karen, welcome to Lightning Leadership.
Thank you, Teresa. I'm so grateful to be here.
Absolutely. So tell me about organizational culture as an extension of strategic thought leadership.
Yes, thanks. That's a great question. We work with a lot of clients around organizational culture. And one of the things we find is so many people define culture as, I like to make the joke, how many foosball tables you have in the break room. I was actually visiting a client in New York City, and they had cereal dispensers in the front lobby with a milk machine as part of their culture. And it was all like Lucky Charms and sugary cereal, a much younger workforce, right?
Yeah.
But I thought that was great. Well, when we think about culture, we really pull away from, well, we don't pull away from, but we look beyond sort of the DEI kind of things that we think about when we think of culture, the idea of belonging, which is a big topic right now that we actually spend quite a bit of time in. But we look at culture as absolutely an extension of an organization's strategy. When we think about a strategy, really at the end of the day, it's really about what's the winning strategy that's going to help us stay ahead of our competitors, right? How do we get that little competitive advantage that opens up that what I call competitive window, where we can be ahead of our competition for some period of time? And this means, obviously, the ability to deliver higher value to our customers and our clients, right? So when we look at strategy that way and think about how do we stay ahead of our competition and really offer something valuable in the marketplace, strategy becomes a piece of that. Culture becomes a piece of that strategic plan. This idea that in order for us to reach our strategic objectives for the year or for 3 years or 5 years, what kind of a culture do we need to drive inside of the organization? So what we're really looking to identify is, are foosball tables in the break room going to help us create the environment necessary for our people to be able to deliver on this value, this high value? Do we need more diversity in our workforce in order to deliver to our clients what they need? Is our client base diverse, and does our hiring practices support the diversity of our clients? Those kinds of things. So when we look at culture, we actually use the framework or the foundation of the research originally done by the Hofstede Institute. They're out of Finland. They are world renowned for their work in country culture, regional culture. And they eventually came to the place where they said, what would happen if we apply these principles inside of an organization? And they now know that the success of an organization has a lot to do with being purposeful around the culture within that organization, especially in a diverse workforce or a global workforce. So we're actually able to scan an organization for current culture, the culture that people say they really want, and what's the culture that's going to deliver on our strategy, and then how do we align those things and pull our people together. And that's the way that we really think that culture is tied to strategy specifically.
So much of doing an assessment, right? Identifying the challenges that an organization has versus today versus tomorrow. It sounds like you might need a cultural roadmap. Tell us a little bit more about the cultural roadmap.
Right. Yes. So, the methodology, the process that we use helps a company really identify what aspects of their culture need to be refined or changed or moved. And the
Mm-hmm.
culture roadmap that comes out is really a listing of what are the big rocks that we need to move. It takes years to change a culture in an organization. And it has
Absolutely.
to do with, there's so many tentacles, right? Um,
Right. Yeah.
one of those one of those tentacles is aligning the leaders, the top leaders in the organization, with the culture that we desire to have, which means that leaders are going to have to transform the way they look at leading their departments, their groups, and we have to align the leaders around that. When I think of a cultural roadmap, I think of a number of things. First of all, culture isn't just people. Culture is also the systems, the processes that support the people so that they can get the work done, or support the clients so that they can get the highest and best value, right?
Yeah.
So it's really sort of like a three-legged stool. What are the systems we need? What are the processes we need? This could be compensation systems. Are we compensating our salespeople correctly? Are we bonusing our internal people correctly? Are we pricing our products correctly? Are we putting the right products forward? Are we really
Yeah.
answering the needs of our clients? So there's some hard business questions that come through on this cultural roadmap. And then there's also the people side. What kind of leadership style do we need in order to inspire our people to deliver what we need them to deliver? So we actually have an assessment that we use, another assessment that we use that's leader by leader. It's a 360 tool that helps leaders identify, if they want to drive the culture we just agreed on, what is it that I need to alter in the way I lead in order
Mhm.
to have the best opportunity to drive that future culture? This is not unlike parents who sit and have the conversation. If we want our kids to be
Oh,
this, what do we
yeah.
need to suck up and do correctly, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that cultural roadmap um, is something that we co-create with a client. It's not us coming in and saying, this is what you need to do. It's us sitting with them, helping them make the decisions, identify what are the heavy lifts, what do we need to work on first, and then exactly how do we go about shifting that portion of a culture? What does that look like? And then what do they need in the way of internal resources in order to do that? Frequently, to be honest with you, a lot of it has to do with leader mindset, leader approach. Uh, there are a number of different leadership styles. I mean, we've all heard them in business school, right? Whether you're an
Yes.
autocratic leader or an inspirational leader or this, that, and the other thing. And all of those leadership styles are important. It's important to know that there isn't a right culture and a wrong culture. There's just a culture. The right culture is the one that helps you deliver on your strategy. So, understanding what kind of leadership is going to be necessary, especially in different parts of your organization. So, for instance, when we do culture work, we're able to say, let's take a look at the manufacturing floor, and let's take a look at the sales group, and let's take a look at the executive team. And we can actually pull these apart and decide whether we need the same culture in each bucket. Like, where do we need a unified culture across the organization? And where do we need to maybe be a little more specific to a particular group? And we can do that internationally as well. If you have if you're an organization that uses a group in India, for instance, to do your tech calls, which is a very common thing here in the United States now, we can actually compare the culture that you need and the culture of that area in India. And we can help you understand how to communicate with the people in your call center to make sure that they're picking up on what the expectations are. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Karen Atwell, thank you so much for joining me today. For those of you that are home and interested in learning more about Karen, or dynamic perspectives, please reach out to Karen on LinkedIn. For those of you that are following along at home, LinkedIn is a great place to be for Lightning Leadership. You can also find us on YouTube as well as Spotify. So with that, Karen Atwell, thank you so much. And until next time, thanks so much.